Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Offering our salutations to Bhagavan Ramana, who shines as the heart in every being. We begin today's satsang with a prayer, followed by the chanting of the Muktaka trayam by Sri Nandakumarji. Dakshinamurti Sarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Ramanacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye Angikam Bhuvanam Yasya Vachikam Sarvavangmayam Aharyam Chandrataradi Tam Namas Satvikam Shivam Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Ekam aksharam hridhi nirantaram bhasate swayam likhyate katham hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahmamatram yaham aham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati hridhi vishamanasa swam chinvata majjata pavana chalana rudha atmanishto bhavatvam deham ranvayavat jadatmakam aham buddhirna tasyaspyato naham tattata bhavashakti samaye siddhatma sadbha oham bhavayuta kuto maradhiya drishtatmanishtatmana soham spurtitaya arunachala shiva purno vibhati swayam soham सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। नमो रमण।
We continue the satsang with the chanting of few verses from Upadesa Saram, which will be done by Kumari Uma and Srimati Ashwini.
नमो रमण। कर्तुराज्ञया प्राप्यते फलं कर्म किं परं कर्म तज्जडं कृतिमहो ददौ पतनकारणं फलमशाश्वतं गतिनिरोधकम् ईश्वरार्पितं नेच्छया कृतं चित्तशोधकं मुक्तिसाधकम् कायवाङ्मना कार्यमुत्तमं पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात् जगतैषधी युक्तसेवनम् अष्टमूर्तिभृदेव पूजनम् उत्तमस्तवादुच्चवन्दत चित्तजं जप ध्यानमुत्तमम् आद्यधारया समं सरलचिन्तनं विरलतः परं वेदभावनात् सोऽहमित्यसौ भावनाविदा पावनीमता भावशून्यसत् भावसुस्थिति भावना बलात् भक्तिरुत्तमा हृत्स्थले मना स्वस्थता क्रिया भक्तियोगबोधाश्च निश्चितम्।
Namo Ramana. In this part of the satsang, we have the offerings of Ramananjali Sangeetam. Ramananjali Sangeetam are the works written by Ramana and on him by saint poets who are soaked in the experience of Ramana, who is the self. Every word of Ramananjali Sangeetam has sprung from that silence of the self, and hence they have the power of transforming lives and to take us back to that very silence which is the basis for every sound and music. So we have 4 presentations of Ramananjali songs. The first one will be by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh. This will be followed by an offering by Dr. Pratibha Sundaresh, and it will be followed by an offering by Savitri Krishnan and Jaisriram Krishnan, and followed by a last presentation of Ramananjali Sangeetam by Revathi Sankar. We have the offerings of Ramananjali Sangeetam.
Namo Ramana to all. Today we have selected a song written by Sri Sadhu Swami, and the music is by Sri H.K. Narayana. Ramananaye Sharanagati Adinde, Ramananaye Sharanagati Adinde, Ramananaye Sharanagati Adinde, Ramananaye Sharanagati Adinde. என்னை உய்விக்க எண்ணம் கொண்டவோர் பெருமுத்தமனை அடைந்தேன். அவன் செய்விக்கும் லீலைகளால் என்னை அவன் தேர்ந்ததை நான் அறிந்தேன். என்னை உய்விக்க எண்ணம் கொண்டவோர் பெருமுத்தமனை அடைந்தேன். அவன் செய்விக்கும் லீலைகளால் என்னை அவன் தேர்ந்ததை நான் அறிந்தேன். மானுமே இன்றி பெரும் காற்றில் மரக்கலமாகாமல் மேன்மேலும் மாறுமே இன்றி பெரும் காற்றில் மறக்கலமாகாமல் மேலும் என்னை காட்டே அருள் செய்யும் இன்றைய என்ன சொல்வேன். மாறுமே இன்றி பெரும் காற்றில் மறக்கலமாகாமல் மேலும் என்னை காட்டே அருள் செய்யும் விந்தையை என்ன சொல்வேன். என்னை உய்விக்க எண்ணம் கொண்டவோர் பெருமுத்தமனை அடைந்தேன். அவன் செய்விக்கும் லீலைகளால் என்னை அவன் தேர்ந்ததை நான் அறிந்தேன். இத்தனை பொறுப்புடனே குழந்தையாய் என் மேல் விருப்புடனே உள்ள இத்தனை பொறுப்புடனே குழந்தையாய் என் மேல் விருப்புடனே உள்ள சத்திய ரமணனையே என்றென்றும் சரணாகதி அடைந்தேன். இத்தனை பொறுப்புடனே குழந்தையாய் என் மேல் விருப்புடனே உள்ள சத்திய ரமணனையே என்றென்றும் சரணாகதி அடைந்தேன். சரணாகதி அடைந்தேன். சரணாகதி அடைந்தேன். என்னை உய்விக்க எண்ணம் கொண்டவோர் பெருமுத்தமனை அடைந்தேன். அவன் செய்விக்கும் லீலைகளால் என்னை அவன் தேர்ந்ததை நான் அறிந்தேன். ரமணனையே சரணாகதி அடைந்தேன். ரமணனையே சரணாகதி அடைந்தேன். ரமணனையே சரணாகதி அடைந்தேன். நமோ ரமணா.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Even before meeting Bhagwan, Muruganaswamy, in his composition Deshikar Padigam, described Bhagwan as Lord Shiva, who has come in human form as Lokaguru to give liberation. In this composition, Swami again reminds us of Shiva Ramana, reveling in all beings as that supreme grace, love, and bliss. And what immense blessing that he has taught us to reveal his true nature here and now. Extremely generous that Bhagwan is, he feeds us the butter or the essence of Vedas and Agamas in its most simplest form, like a mother feeding her child, says Muruganaswamy. Even for a Tamil illiterate like me, I found this composition very musical by Muruganaswamy's beautiful play of words. அருளே அமுதே அகமே சுகமே அருளே அமுதே அகமே சுகமே தெருளே திருவே சிவமே ரமணா தெருளே திருவே சிவமே ரமணா அருளே அமுதே அகமே சுகமே பொருளே புணர்வே பொலிவே மலிவே மருளே தமிழா மௌன பதமே பொருளே புணர்வே பொலிவே மலிவே மருளே தமிழா மௌன பதமே அருளே அமுதே அகமே சுகமே அருளே அமுதே அகமே சுகமே ஆதார சிவத்தனுபூதி உனக்கீதா ஸ்வரூபத்தியல் காண்யனவே ஆதார சிவ தனுபூதி உனக்கீதா ஸ்வரூபத்தியல் காண்யனவே வேதாகம ஞான வினையுணவா ஊதாரி உவந்தனே ஊட்டினனே வேதாகமஞான வினையுணவா ஊதாரி உவந்தனை ஊட்டின நீ அருளே அமுதே அகமே சுகமே தெருளே திருவே சிவமே ரமணா அருளே அமுதே அகமே சுகமே சுகமே இயல்பான ஸ்வரூப நிலை மிகவே தகவாக விளங்குவதால் சுகமே இயல்பான ஸ்வரூப நிலை மிகவே தகவாக விளங்குவதால் இயமே பரமா இயல் சீரிதயத்து அகமே அகமா அமைந்ததுவே இயமே பரமா இயல் சீரிதயத்து அகமே அகமா அமைந்ததுவே அருளே அமுதே அகமே சுகமே தெருளே திருவே சிவமே ரமணா அருளே அமுதே அகமே சுகமே அருளே அமுதே அகமே சுகமே அருளே அமுதே அகமே சுகமே நமோ ரமண
ನಿನಗೆ ಅನಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಕರುಣೆ ತೋರಿಸಯ್ಯ ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಕರುಣಿಸು ಎನ್ನಲು ನಾನು ಯಾವನಯ್ಯ ನಿನಗೆ ಅನಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಕರುಣೆ ತೋರಿಸಯ್ಯ ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಕರುಣಿಸು ಎನ್ನಲು ನಾನು ಯಾವನಯ್ಯ ನಿನಗೆ ಅನಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಕರುಣೆ ತೋರಿಸಯ್ಯ ನನಗಾವುದು ಹಿತವೆಂದು ಅರಿತವ ನೀನಯ್ಯ ನನಗಾವುದು ಹಿತವೆಂದು ಅರಿತವ ನೀನಯ್ಯ ನನ್ನ ಒಳಿತು ಅರಿತು ಕೊಡುವ ದಾನಿ ಬೇರಿಲ್ಲಯ್ಯ ನಿನಗೆ ಅನಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಕರುಣೆ ತೋರಿಸಯ್ಯ ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಕರುಣಿಸು ಎನ್ನಲು ನಾನು ಯಾವನಯ್ಯ ನಿನಗೆ ಅನಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಕರುಣೆ ತೋರಿಸಯ್ಯ ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಕಲ್ಮಶವ ತೊಳೆದು ನೀಗಿಸಯ್ಯ ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಕಲ್ಮಶವ ತೊಳೆದು ನೀಗಿಸಯ್ಯ ಜ್ಞಾನವೆನ್ನುವ ಜ್ಯೋತಿಯ ಮನದಿ ಬೆಳಗಿಸಯ್ಯ ನಿನಗೆ ಅನಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಕರುಣೆ ತೋರಿಸಯ್ಯ ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಕರುಣಿಸು ಎನ್ನಲು ನಾನು ಯಾವಯ್ಯ ನಿನಗೆ ಅನಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಕರುಣೆ ತೋರಿಸಯ್ಯ ಓ ಗುರು ರಮಣನೇ ಪ್ರೇಮದ ಜ್ಯೋತಿಯೇ ಓ ಗುರು ರಮಣನೇ ಪ್ರೇಮದ ಜ್ಯೋತಿಯೇ ನಿರ್ಮಲ ಜೀವನ ದಯಪಾಲಿಸಯ್ಯ ನಿರ್ಮಲ ಜೀವನ ದಯಪಾಲಿಸಯ್ಯ ನಿನಗೆ ಅನಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಕರುಣೆ ತೋರಿಸಯ್ಯ ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಕರುಣಿಸು ಎನ್ನಲು ನಾನು ಯಾವನಯ್ಯ ನಿನಗೆ ಅನಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಕರುಣೆ ತೋರಿಸಯ್ಯ ಓಂ ನಮೋ ಭಗವತೆ ಶ್ರೀರಮಣಾಯ
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. I have not done any penance or any kind of ritual or any kind of dhyana, sadhana, but you have come into my life and given me everything in abundance, given me yourself. You are my father, you are my mother, you are everything to me. Even if we search all these in any Vedas, we won't get, but Bhagavan gives us just like how a mother guides the child, just like how the mother feeds the child, the ultimate state, jnana. Bhagavan gives us this his own state with lot of love. I present to you a song written by Sadhguru Swami. The Kannada translation of this song is done by Dr. N.S. Lakshminarayana Bhatta, music by H.K. Narayana. ಜ್ಞಾನ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಸಾಧನ ಏನಿಲ್ಲದ ನನಗೆ ಒಲಿದೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳುದೇವ ಕಾರಣವೇ ಇರದೆ. ಜ್ಞಾನ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಸಾಧನ ಏನಿಲ್ಲದ ನನಗೆ ಒಲಿದೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳು ರಮಣ ಕಾರಣವೇ ಇರದೆ. ದೇವಾವಳಿ ವೇದಾವಳಿ ಹುಡುಕಿದರೂ ಸಿಗದ, ದೇವಾವಳಿ ವೇದಾವಳಿ ಹುಡುಕಿದರೂ ಸಿಗದ, ದೇವ ನೀನು ಹೇಗೆ ಇಂಥ ಅಜ್ಞಾನಿಗೆ ನುಡಿದೆ, ದಾಸನಾಗಿ ಪಡೆದೆ. ಜ್ಞಾನ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಸಾಧನ ಏನಿಲ್ಲದ ನನಗೆ ಒಲಿದೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳು ದೇವ ಕಾರಣವೇ ಇರದೆ. ಬೀದಿ ಬೀದಿ ಅಲೆಯುತ್ತಿದ್ದ ಈ ಪಾಮರ ಕೀಟವ, ಬೀದಿ ಬೀದಿ ಅಲೆಯುತ್ತಿದ್ದ ಈ ಪಾಮರ ಕೀಟವ, ಮೇಲೆತ್ತಿದೆ ಕಿಡಿಬಿತ್ತಿದೆ ನಂಬಿದೆ ಶ್ರೀಪಾದವ, ದಾಟಿದೆ ಭವಜಾಲವ. ಜ್ಞಾನ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಸಾಧನ ಏನಿಲ್ಲದ ನನಗೆ ಒಲಿದೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳು ರಮಣ ಕಾರಣವೇ ಇರದೆ. ಹಿಂದಿನೊಂದು ಪುಣ್ಯವೇ ಇಂದಿನೊಂದು ತಪವೇ, ಹಿಂದಿನೊಂದು ಪುಣ್ಯವೇ ಇಂದಿನೊಂದು ತಪವೇ, ನಿನ್ನ ಕರುಣೆ ಒಂದೇ ಈ ದೀನನ ಕಾಪಾಡಿತು, ಜನನ ಮರಣ ತೀರಿತು. ಜ್ಞಾನ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಸಾಧನ ಏನಿಲ್ಲದ ನನಗೆ ಒಲಿದೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳು ದೇವ ಕಾರಣವೇ ಇರದೆ. ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಯೆಲ್ಲ ನೀನೆ ಕಾಪಾಡುವ ಗುರುವು, ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಯೆಲ್ಲ ನೀನೆ ಕಾಪಾಡುವ ಗುರುವು, ನನ್ನ ನನಗೆ ತೋರಿಸಿ ಕಣ್ತೆರೆಸಿದ ಪ್ರಭುವು, ನನ್ನ ನನಗೆ ತೋರಿಸಿ ಕಣ್ತೆರೆಸಿದ ಪ್ರಭುವು, ಕೃಪೆ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಶುಭವು. ಜ್ಞಾನ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಸಾಧನ ಏನಿಲ್ಲದ ನನಗೆ ಒಲಿದೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳು ದೇವ ಕಾರಣವೇ ಇರದೆ. ಜ್ಞಾನ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಸಾಧನ ಏನಿಲ್ಲದ ನನಗೆ ಒಲಿದೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳು ರಮಣ ಕಾರಣವೇ ಇರದೆ. ಒಲಿದೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳು ರಮಣ ಕಾರಣವೇ ಇರದೆ. ಒಲಿದೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳು ರಮಣ ಕಾರಣವೇ ಇರದೆ. ನಮೋ ರಮಣ.
Namo Ramana. In this part of the satsang, we have a reading and sharing session by Sri Nandakumarji.
Namo Ramana. In this, the book reading segment of our satsang, we continue to read from Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi, The Resplendent Sun, Angles of Vision, by our founder president Sri A.R. Natarajanji. This is a work consisting of various contributions from various great ones of those times in the 50s, 60s, and there are articles by the founder president Sri A.R. Natarajanji and Sarada. We are now coming towards the end of the work, almost the last two contributions. This one, the penultimate one, is by Rajagopal, it is mentioned, and the article is taken from personal collection of Bhagavan Das. It is entitled Sadguru Ramana's Guidance. Sadguru Ramana's Guidance, Rajagopal. Early years. My birth was in West India and early study in a village in South India where my maternal grandfather lived. He was an ardent devotee of God. My early recollections are seeing my grandfather taking part of God Narasimhaswamy in a dance drama famous at the village, and my preparing a replica of the famous head of the god and frighten other boys with my roar. Next, my boyhood in a nearby town where a sage and religious people lived. I used to see legendary dramas and was impressed with Dhruva's penance. I too tried to imitate it as an act only and took part in college theatricals as a rishi or juror, read a bit of Vivekananda's books and attended Harikathas and discourses on Puranas in temples. With my parents, I visited many temples and holy places in North India. Once, when I visited my titular deity at his 7 hills, I felt something from him enter into me and was in ecstasy. All this was forgotten when I had to take up a living in West India. Musings. In my 40th year, 1939, that is 1939, one day, a thought took hold of me regarding the riddle of life and the universe. Once Maharani from Travancore asks Bhagavan, what is the purpose of all this creation? And Bhagavan says, to raise this very question. Because when you put that ultimate question, why is all this creation? Why am I here? Then the answers too are of similar stature or nature. The riddle the author faces is, we are born, increase our knowledge, eat, work and laze, have pleasures and miseries, wake and sleep, love and hate, procreate and die, protect and kill, driven by the force of thought. We think we do it and claim the good as ours and the bad as someone else's, sometimes bringing in God also. The earth moves, the sun shines, stars twinkle, galaxies and nebulae, and millions of stupendous forces float about, all appearing to have some order, sometimes going berserk with collisions and catastrophe, but still apparently futile in aim. Though so many things seem to be happening on a grand scale, to what purpose seems to be meaningless movement. My favorite deity did not help me to understand the sniffle. Sniffle, he says, is that the riddle is like a wimble. They say at the end of some crying or something like that, the breath will be irregular. He says the riddle is something like that. And his own deity was not able to answer that irregularity in creation for him. Entry of Ramana. After a few restless days on his account, a thought said, visit holy places and sages, say your parents, you may get the answer. I made a trip to the south, up to Cape Comorin, and then via west coast to the Himalayas in the north, in the course of a month, visiting places and sages, including Ramananjali. To me, he was then one of the sages of India. The restlessness remained as ever, and I felt dejected. At Rishikesh, a spirit and voice like that of sage Ramana appeared to say, if you come here, you will know. You won't get anywhere else. I was reluctant to heed it as true, having once been there. So he is describing his inner journey of getting comfortable with what his intuitions are. Initially, he is not able to accept the intuitions. As we will see further, he becomes surer and surer as to Bhagavan is talking to him from within. His guidance begins. However, after some experience, I felt I should respond to the voice. And I entered the hall. When I entered the hall, the sage was telling somebody. Some people consider that I am God, so and so. My favorite deity was mentioned. The author is so careful that his favorite deity's name is not mentioned, but then Bhagavan was mentioning that name when he was entering. This is the anubhava of many devotees, that their previous sadhana is reinforced by Bhagavan, assuring them that their sadhana is on track. I prostrated and sat, my eyes closed. A thought said, ask. The thought from within is saying, Kedu, ask. I replied, no. He must know all about me and my thoughts. And sat quiet. A little later, a new voice inside me prompted me to ask for anything. The inside voice is asking, ask anything. And I said, I am here at your call. Do as you please. So, when something from within, from the deeper dimensions is asking him, ask anything, he is recognizing that to arise from Bhagavan, and he is responding within only that you have called me, so do as you please. When that state is there in the sadhaka, leaving the things to Bhagavan, the inner voice said, watch your thoughts. When you become aware of a thought, inquire yourself as to whom it came, and you will reply, to me. Inquire, who am I? Do not expect or give any answer, but pass on the sequence of the thought train to your God in the right side of your chest, just inside, midway between the breast and the nipple. I'll read that again. Is the inner voice when he says, Bhagavan, you teach me whatever you want. The inner voice said, watch your thoughts. When you become aware of a thought, inquire yourself as to whom it came, and you will reply, to me. Inquire, who am I? Do not expect or give any answer, but pass on the sequence of thought train to your God in the right side of your chest, just inside, midway between breast and the nipple. Thoughts were few, and a peaceful, thought-free stage ensued. I was oblivious of anything. After some time, my ears heard some noise. My mind followed it and cognized it as a conversation between the sage and someone else. My mind projected again and was curious to hear what was going on there. When the same voice said, what business have you to hear what is done outside? Continue the quest. Only when the mind is skilled is there no return, no quest. Till then you have to continue the quest. Then his voice asks, how will I know? And the inner voice responds, you will know. Since then, I was suddenly withdrawn from the world, even to the extent of not hearing anything that Bhagavan spoke or seeing the devotees assembled. Sitting in quest, lying in quest was my only work. One difficulty was, what about my favorite God equated with the sage? So he gets a doubt. What about my God? What am I doing? A thought. The self, guru, and God are one. Solved it. So the answer also comes from within. When such a serious doubt is asked, the answer is also coming from within. All the three, self, guru, and God are one. And it solves his doubt. After a few days, I went back, resigned from all outside activities except my work. I subsequently came to be initiated in some pujas, mantras, And besides the present quest, practice imagining the God to be present in the heart of everything. I saw animate or inanimate to the extent of bowing to them in the course of time. As concentration outside and the quest inside was difficult, he started bowing and then getting back. However, I was regular in the quest for 1 hour each morning and evening at the exact fixed time and place. A voice said, "It is important till it becomes a second habit," which I came to know later helped me in bridging the gap after the final plunge in the ocean of bliss. So the regular sadhana, he says, helped him fill up all the gaps that would be there in sadhana. The regularity, fixed hours, that is quite important. I was in Bhagavan's presence at Sri Ramanashramam every year for 3 years. How to touch Bhagavan's feet came. The thought came, how to touch Bhagavan's feet. A voice said, "Do it with your mind." I touched his feet mentally with the head. A bliss took hold of it. A voice said, "It is not necessary for you to come here hereafter." The inner voice or some apparently accidental outside information guided in my physical and mental difficulties. Feeling lazy, rebellious, trying to make it pure, or starve it sometimes, or think of the self in the heart, the appropriate suggestion would come, he is saying. Only the first few months were difficult. Superconscious experiences encouraged me to proceed. More guidance. Some thoughts which I felt should be obeyed, like find out who sleeps and who wakes. I obeyed and I had another set of consequent experiences. So he said those two to inquire into who is the one who is going to sleep and who is the one who wakes. Those thoughts came as guidance which led him to further experiences. The experience is as under. In trying to find out what sleep is and who sleeps and what is left after a person goes to sleep, an attempt was made to watch carefully before sleep came. For about 6 days, it went for about 6 days, it went suddenly into sleep, and after that, it found that though it went suddenly to sleep, the waking stage, which also had been sudden before, was slowly getting gradual, and that the thing that was watching the sleeping stage was watching the waking stage also. So when he started practicing before going to sleep, for about 6 days he has watched, and he says that even after the watching, the sleep would always be sudden. But the change was that when he got up in the morning, or when he got up, whenever he got up, the waking stage, he could start feeling that the observation is there as to who is waking up. We will continue the reading. We'll perhaps go back 1 or 2 paragraphs and take the guidances. Of course, these esoteric experiences need not be hung on to by the listeners or the reader because the Brahmastra, Atma Vichara, for whom is this, is what is important. Of course, these experiences are there for this devotee and we respect and hear it. It need not be necessary that we also get the same experiences. The Brahmastra being held, that is quite enough, but we'll be reading these esoteric experiences in the coming week. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We move on to the self-enquiry session conducted by Sri Dileep Simha ji, who will be doing a small reading from the teachings of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, and we will have some sharing and the practice of self-enquiry.
Namo Ramana. Dhyayet Sharada Chandra Sundaramukam Tamraravinvekshamam Bhaktabhishthavarabhayapradakaram Kaupinamatrojvalam Svatmanandarasanoghutidivasham Sarvanavadyangakam Shrimantam Shri Ramaneshwaram Guruvaram Yogasanadhyasitam Dhyayet Shri Ramaneshwaram Dhyayet Shri Ramaneshwaram Dhyayet Shri Ramaneshwaram Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahmamatram Yahamahmiti Sakshat Atmarupena Bhati Hridi Vishamanasa Swam Chinvata Majjatava Pavana Charanarodha Atmanishto Bhavatvam. We will commence the Atma Vicharam by listening to Bhagavan's Upadesham. I'll be reading his Upadesham from the book Guruvachaka Kovai, from the chapter Meditation on the Truth, and the topic is Freedom from Attachment. Verse 822. A boat is not harmed at all by remaining in water, but if water leaks into the boat, there will be a great disaster. Likewise, no harm befalls a person merely by living in this ocean-riddled world. But if the world settles in his heart, calamities will multiply, making his whole life miserable. I repeat the verse. A boat is not harmed at all by remaining in water. But if water leaks into the boat, there will be a great disaster. Likewise, no harm befalls a person merely by living in this ocean-grilled world. But if the world settles in his heart, calamities will multiply, making his whole life miserable. Here, Bhagavan is making it very clear that we being the self, wherever we are, in fact, the self is untouched in whatever that we are, the waking, the dream, or the sleep. So, naturally, it is like a boat which is untouched by anything. But if we let the world or that state which we are as ourself, if we take that to be ourself or happening to oneself, if we limit to that, then we have let the water, the ocean enter into the boat. And that is when all disasters happen. And Muruganaswamy in Ramana Sannidhi Murai has explained this very beautifully. I will read it out. I know of no God apart from Him who revealed this truth. What is the truth? We look at it. Whether it exists or whether it doesn't, the world never harms anyone unless they associate with it. Gently, with your mind, disengage yourself from the world by the breadth of 7 fingers. So it is very important that we need to learn this Sahaja art, the natural state of ours of being the self, which is untouched even in the midst of the world. But until that becomes our natural experience, our long standing association of taking the world to be real and letting that water enter in us is going to cause all the sorts of bewilderment. And in order to protect us from such a thing, Bhagavan has given us the sadhana of Atma Vichara. Therefore, when the worldliness enters us in the form of a thought, he asks us, he is not asking us to leave the world. Bhagavan very clearly says, if we are in the world doing anything that we are doing, we can continue to do. Only thing we need to ensure is that the worldliness doesn't enter us. Therefore, when a thought rises, and when we take it to be real and we pursue it, then and there he asks us to diligently inquire, to whom is this thought? Thereupon, it becomes clear that it is for me, the one who is now entering into the worldliness. I. Thereupon, Bhagavan asks us to further inquire, who am I? By inquiring, by putting this inquiry, who am I, and tracing the source of the I, we enter the true self that we verily are, which is undisturbed by anything whatsoever. And by this very inquiry, we take a dip into that truth, that natural state of ours. That is the grace of the Master. And by repeated inquiry, we get acquainted, the mind gets acquainted and gets the strength, says Bhagavan, to remain in that natural state. With the abundant grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this most direct path. For the next 10 minutes, no matter how many thoughts come, no matter whatever is the nature of thought, good, bad, ugly, even spiritual, we should know that it's all part of the worldliness. And we need not have to let it enter and disturb the natural state of ours, seemingly get disturbed by it. Therefore, we should diligently inquire, to whom is this, who am I, and trace the thought, the I thought, to its source, or inquire, what do I refer to as I, and by the grace of the Master, enter into that natural state of ours. The abundant grace of Bhagavan. For the next 10 minutes, let us practice Atma Vichara. Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Holding on to the self, we move on to the next part of the satsang, which is a sharing by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande ji.
Oh. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunattu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Jnanamulam Guru Puja Mulam Gurur Padam Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa. Namo Ramana. We're doing Manana on Atma Bodha, and the last satsang we did Manana on verse number 18. We'll do a quick recap of that. One should understand the Atma to be distinct from the body, sense organs, mind, intellect, and vasanas, and always a witness of their functions like a king. Is the Atma distinct from the material equipments and their functions? In the presence of the Atma, the physical body acts, whether the activities are good or bad. It is the same Atma which enables the sense organs to perceive the world of objects. Atma is a substratum from which all activities emanate, either in the form of subtle manifestations as thoughts and desires within, or gross impressions and perceptions and actions in the external world. Though it is the activating principle, Atman remains ever detached and independent of all the activities. It is a mere witness. The word Sakshi is translated as witness, but has a deeper significance. It indicates the goal of human perfection as well as the technique by which you should reach that goal. The goal of perfection is to realize your own supreme self. The self witnesses all activities at the physical, mental, and intellectual levels without getting involved and affected by them. The sadhana starts when you try to observe detachedly the world and its manifold activities without indiscriminately indulging and getting involved in them. When you reach such a state, you next direct the art of witnessing inward towards your own actions, emotions, and thoughts. If you succeed in doing that, you will remain detached and not get affected by them. This is by disassociating with the body, mind, intellect, and their functions and attuning to the self within. You will gradually merge with the self. So we will do Manana today on the verse number 19. I request Sapna to kindly chant the verses, please.
Yes, sir. व्यापृत्तेषु इन्द्रियेषु आत्मा व्यापारीव विवेकिनां दृश्यते अभ्रेषु धावत्सु धावन्नीव यथा शशि व्यापृत्तेषु इन्द्रियेषु आत्मा व्यापारीव विवेकिनां दृश्यते अभ्रेषु धावत्सु धावन्नीव यथा शशि. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. To the non-discriminating, Atma appears to be active when the sense organs are functioning. To the non-discriminated, person who doesn't discriminate, Atman appears to be active when the sense organs are functioning, just as the moon appears to be moving when the clouds are moving. So this is a beautiful example. So Atma has been described as a detached witness of the activities of the body, mind, and intellect. Atma merely provides these material equipments the capacity to function without itself getting involved in any of their functioning. But when you see the organs of perceptions and action function, you get the impression that the self within is functioning. In fact, perceptions and actions are related to the sense organs, indriyas, and not to the self. I'll repeat that statement. In fact, perceptions and actions are related to the sense organs, indriyas, and not to the self. Those who lack the power of discrimination project the activities of the material equipments upon the pure Atma and delude themselves to believe that Atma is acting. This fallacy of the human mind creates an illusion that the moon is moving. The illusion arises because your attention is focused upon the clouds. When, however, you shift the focus of attention from the clouds to the moon, you will realize that the clouds are moving. Similarly, you imagine the Atma to be active because your mind is centered on the equipments of the body, mind, and intellect. No sooner you withdraw your attention from these equipments and direct it upon the self within, you realize that the activities belong to the equipments and not to the self. The metaphor of the clouds suggested a few more. The metaphor of the clouds suggests a few more interesting points of comparison. For instance, you notice the motion of the clouds because the moon remains motionless in the background. Any motion is recognized only with reference to a motionless matter factor. Similarly, you perceive changes occurring in the different layers of the human personality because of a changeless substratum, which is the Supreme Self. Furthermore, the clouds themselves are visible only in the light of the moon. Likewise, you are conscious of the human equipments and other activities because of the pure consciousness, the Supreme Self. So it's beautifully being said, like in the movie that we see in the theater. Because how do you see the movie? We see the movie because there is a screen. The screen does not move. Imagine if the screen also was moving and the movie also was moving. We couldn't have seen the movie. So Bhagavan says beautifully here that there is something that is because of which everything is happening. There's something like this body jada right now. Look at this body is able to talk. This body is, there's so many of you are able to listen. How is it possible? There is something which powers this ear, there's something that powers this tongue, the lips, that the eyes that see. All this is the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear. There's something behind. That is something which is not moving. And Bhagavan says, go there and find out who that is and realize who you are. And that is the reality. That is the Bhagavan says Summa Ire means what? That is the quietness. Be with that silence, be with that thing which doesn't move. When you're with that, then you are with God. Then you become fearless and free. It doesn't matter. You become a witness to whatever is happening. If anything happens to the body, like Bhagavan told his mother, Prarabdha is the body. Let it happen. Nothing bothers you. Like Bhagavan Argamal said, throw my body into the bushes for all I care. Why? Because body jada, there's no reality to it. But all of us who don't discriminate, this verse tells beautifully, those people who don't discriminate, who don't use viveka and vairagya in their being, then what happens? They think that they are the doer. They think that everything is happening because of them. But actually nothing happens because of them. Because of the sun, everything happens. Sun doesn't say everything is happening because of me, but actually it's a fact. So that's what it is. Bhagavan says because of the consciousness, everything happens. So important thing is when we inquire, we drop the falsity, we drop the body, mind, ego, and we want to understand, hey, well, what is this reality of this whole system that I'm in? And the reality is that Satchidananda Atman. Once you abide in that, then the game is over. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the Self in all beings. By the immense grace of the Self manifest as Ramana, in this part of the Satsang, we are meditating on the names of Bhagavan, the 108 names of Bhagavan, which have been strung together as a litany of 108 names by Vishwanatha Swami. He has given us all these 108 names for Bhagavan, and he has strung them together as the garland of 108 names. It is called the Ramana Ashtottara Shatanamavadi. So in this Nama, which we have been meditating on for the past few weeks, Bhagavan says, Bhagavan is called Churnita Akhila Vibhramaya Namaha, one who has destroyed all illusions. So what is the basic illusion? The basic illusion is that I am this body. Once one has this illusion, Bhagavan says in Ramana Gita that there is a spiritual center within every one of us. It is called the spiritual heart. It is a little to the right of the chest, a little, and Bhagavan says it is where we touch ourselves and say, I, this is I want this, I don't want this, I like this. And when we turn our attention inward, if we turn our attention inwards, asking ourselves, who am I? Then what happens if we pay full attention to this question alone and try to see what it is that is saying I within me, then that spiritual heart reveals itself as I. But until then, what happens? When one is not paying attention inwards, then the energy from the spiritual heart goes into the Sahasrara, the mind center. It goes into the head. That's why normally when we think, we say, I am thinking, we point to our head. And whenever we are in turbulence, confusion, we feel everything, all the activity is happening in the head. Because Bhagavan says the energy, the consciousness, the self, the all-pervading truth which we are, that shining from the heart, it moves to the head, and from the head, that energy like electricity flowing through different wires to different parts of the house, it flows to different parts of our body. Then whenever that energy reaches one part of our body, we become aware of that part of the body. So we become aware of the whole body. And Bhagavan says, once one becomes aware of the whole body, then we start thinking, I am this body. Because there is consciousness. There's consciousness in my eyes, I can see. There is consciousness in my ears, I can hear. There's consciousness in my nose, I can smell. There's consciousness in my tongue, I can taste. There's consciousness in my skin, I can touch. So we feel that there is consciousness in everything. We feel there is consciousness in our body. So we feel pain, we feel discomfort, or we feel comfort. All this is because the consciousness has spread. But it's like, Bhagavan says, it's like an iron ball which is heated. When an iron ball is heated, it becomes hot. But the iron has no heat in itself. So also this body is not I. But because of the consciousness spreading through the body, we begin to think, I am this body. And once we think I am this body, Bhagavan says in Ramana Gita, immediately I think, oh, there is a world outside me. I see there is a world outside me. Because I am limited to this body, everything that is not this body becomes the world which is outside me. And Bhagavan says we become caught, we get caught in this illusion. Because of this illusion, so many other illusions arise. The illusions, some people like me, some people dislike me, this may happen, this may not happen. All this actually, even time, beginning with time and space, various illusions arise, and we get very confused sometimes. And the mind becomes heavy with so many thoughts, so many things to analyze, and it sometimes gets to a point where the thoughts can even become painful for us. My God, so many thoughts. And one thought is disagreeing with another thought. And this is the way our mind is. And vibhrama, illusion, the word in Sanskrit which is used is vibhrama, means to go round and round in circles. Brahmana means to keep on searching, to keep on going round and round. So this illusion is like making us go round and round in circles, going round and round in circles without reaching anywhere, without reaching our goal. What is our goal? Our goal is to be happy. Our goal is to be peaceful. And when we are happy and peaceful, lot of love is there in our hearts, and we are able to love everyone just the way Bhagavan could love everyone. Why? Because all his illusions were destroyed when he was just a boy of 16. How did he destroy his illusions? By finding out who is it that dies, because he had a fear of death. And he found out who is it that dies. He was just a boy of 16. And at that point of time, he understood that the body dies, but he is not the body. He is that deathless spirit, which is everywhere, says Bhagavan, which is including the body. Body is inside that. Body is inside that which I am. I am that limitless spirit. He came to know that. So all his illusions, churnita akhila vibhrama, all his illusions were destroyed when he was a boy of 16 by the destruction of the illusion, I am the body. The moment he got over that, all his illusions were destroyed. And so, out of his great love, that love makes him understand that illusions give us trouble. Illusions cause pain. They bring sorrow to us. So many things, what illusions? We say we are disappointed. We think we trust somebody. That person doesn't behave the way we want them to behave. We say we are disappointed. What to do? Our own body sometimes we can't trust. We hope to do something. It doesn't cooperate. Some pain starts somewhere. It's not able to move the way we want it to move. Our hands sometimes don't move the way we want them to move. Our eyes don't move the way we want them to move. Our thoughts don't move the way we want them to move. So how are we to trust anything in this world? So we get confused. We get worried. But the answer is that all this is not I, so we need not worry. We need not worry about the thoughts. Let them be. Bhagavan says, let them be. You don't have to worry about them. You don't have to follow them. If you follow them, it becomes an illusion. But if you don't follow them, instead, if you just get back to the silence which is within you, which is your own true nature, then the illusions will just drop away of their own accord. Another example which Bhagavan gives is like burying one's shadow. He says, see, if we are worried by the shadow is an illusion. Shadow is not myself. It is my shadow. So I don't like it. I said, okay, this is not the reality. Why is it following me everywhere? So let me bury my shadow. So one man, he decided to bury his shadow. So what did he do? His shadow was at that time falling in front of him. At one part of the day, the shadow will come in front of us. So then he said, okay, now this is the time to catch it. All this time it was coming behind me. Now it's in front of me, so I can bury it. So he dug a deep pit and he saw, oh, the shadow is now at the bottom of the pit. I can quickly bury it. and he put more and more and more and more mud on top of it, what happened to the shadow? It just kept coming up and up and up. The more mud he put, the closer it just came to him. So he was worried. Then Bhagavan said, just turn away from the shadow and it's not there. So even he turned in the opposite direction, the shadow disappeared behind him. Or if he stands directly under the sun also, there will be no shadow at all. So what is that sun? That sun is knowledge. That sun is Atma Jnana. If we get under the sun of self-knowledge, then there will be no more shadows in our life. There will be no more illusions in our life. So Bhagavan says, get back to the self. And how does he say get back to the self? He doesn't say it in the same way to everyone. He says it in different ways to different people. And of course, by his very presence, Bhagavan destroys the illusion. Just by sitting in Bhagavan's presence, at that time, even now, people come to the shrine or they sit in front of Bhagavan's photograph and they are in front of Bhagavan's presence, or they think of Bhagavan's presence within their heart and they are in Bhagavan's presence. And what does that presence do? It destroys all illusions. Churnita akhila vibramaya namaha. Sometimes we don't want to let go of our illusions. We want to hold on to our illusions. So at that time when Bhagavan destroys the illusion, in the beginning it may seem to be a bit painful. This is like supposing one has a painful tooth and the tooth has to be drilled and then some filling has to be made or a root canal treatment has to be made. So the treatment is sometimes painful. Treatment which Bhagavan gives us appears to be painful, it appears to be difficult. The process of life appears to be difficult sometimes, but ultimately what happens? The decay is taken out. When the drilling happens, the dentist drills the tooth, it is sensitive, it is painful, but after that the bad part is removed, the cavity is removed, and some good filling is put over there. And once that happens, the tooth becomes strong once again. So, in a similar manner, Bhagavan wants to remove our illusion to make us stronger, much stronger. Bhagavan says in Ramana Gita again, he says that once the illusions are cut, by cutting the root illusion is called Granthi, the knot. That knot, when we cut it through self-enquiry, then there will be no more any illusions. There will be no more any doubts. There will be no more any sorrow. We will be in great peace and we will have great power. Power to do what? Power to remain blissful at all times. And that power to share this blissfulness with everyone, not by wanting to share, but just like that it happens. Bhagavan says, when we are in that state, when we are ourselves self-aware, that's the best help we can do for anyone. Again, even that illusion he destroys. Sometimes when we get something very beautiful, we want to share it with everyone. We want to give it to others. Oh, I've got this chocolate. I want to share it with 5 people. I've got this very nice. I've got some money. Let me share it with everyone and let all of us eat together. Let us all of us enjoy together. Or when we see a beautiful program, we tell others, come, we'll all see that program again. Or we know some program is going to be beautiful. We want to share it. But Bhagavan says that if we become like the sun, which is full of light, if we become full of the light of knowledge, automatically many good things will happen through us. Just as by the sun's light, photosynthesis happens. All the plants and trees are fed automatically they are fed. The sun doesn't come to them individually and try to feed them. Just by the shining of the sun, all the plants are fed and nourished. And when the plants are fed and nourished, they take in carbon dioxide, they give oxygen, and all of us also get oxygen. All this is possible. Why? Because the sun is shining. It doesn't try to do anything. It's just shining, says Bhagavan. It is just like that. You remain self-aware. You remain in your truth without getting caught in the illusion. And then your shining will help the entire universe, says Bhagavan. Don't think that only by action things can happen. Only by action people can be helped. Just by being in the self, you can help the entire universe. This is the truth which Bhagavan shows to us. So he cuts away many of our illusions like this. But that's why Vishwanatha Swami says, Akhila Vibhramaha. So many illusions we have. The illusion that we are able to act by our own power. No, Bhagavan says you are able to act because God's power is within you. Then what is the thing? That everything is possible. Anything is possible because it's God's power which is working. So when the limitations are cut away, when illusions are cut away, then what remains is the limitless peace and limitless power, says Bhagavan. In Ramana Gita again he says that state is full of power and full of peace. Therefore, out of love, Bhagavan destroys all our illusions, says Vishwanatha Swami. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We come to the concluding part of the satsang. We have the chanting of the verses from Arunachala Aksharamanamalai by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh. This will be followed by the Ashtottara puja at Dileep Simhaji's altar, and the chanting of Ashtottara will be done by Vaibhavji, Prarthana and Uma and Ashwini, and the Aarti song will be presented by Ujwal, Jagadeesh. We have the Arunachala Aksharamanamalai and Ashtottara puja to Bhagavan.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. Naindadi Kaniya, Nalanilai Padathil, Nadi Utkol Nalam Arunachala. நொந்திடாதுந்தனை தந்தனை கொண்டிலை அந்தகனி என கருணாச்சலா நோக்கிய கருதி மெய்தாக்கிய பக்குவமாக்கினி ஆண்டர் அருணாச்சலா பற்றி மல்விடத்தலை உற்றிரு முனமருள் பற்றிட அருள் புரி அருணாச்சலா பார்த்தருள் மாலர பார்த்திலையெனின் அருள் பாருணக்கார் சொல்வார் அருணாச்சலா பித்த விட்டுன்னை நேர்பித்த நாக்கினை அருள் பித்தம் தெளி மருந்தருணாச்சலா வீதியில் உன்னை சார் வீதியில் என்னை சேர் வீதி உந்தனக்கே அருணாச்சலா புல்லறிவே துரை நல்லறிவே துரை புல்லிடவே அருள் அருணாச்சலா பூமண மாமணம் பூரண மணம் கொள்ள பூரண மணம் அருள் அருணாச்சலா பெயர் நினைத்திடவே பிடித்திழுத்தனை உன் பெருமையார் அறிவார் அருணாச்சலா பேய்த்தனம் விட விடா பேயா பிடித்தனை பேயனாக்கினையன் அருணாச்சலா பைங்கொடியானான் பற்றின்றி வடாமல் பற்று கொடாய்க்கா அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ 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 அருணாச்சலா अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचलं வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமணம் மாலை வாழி. நமோ ரமண.
नमो रमण. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्विमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि. ॐ महासेन महोंशेन जाताय नमः. ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः. ॐ गुरवे नमः. ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः. ॐ महौजसे नमः. ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः. ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः. ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलस्थिताय नमः. ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः. ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः. ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः. ॐ सहायम्बा सहायवते नमः. ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः. ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः. ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः. ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः. ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः. ॐ तीव्राय नमः. ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः. ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः. ॐ पितुरादेशतः प्राप्ताय नमः. ॐ तपोमयाय नमः. ॐ उदासीनाय नमः. ॐ महायोगिने नमः. ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः. ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः. ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसम्रम्भाय नमः. ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः. ॐ सवित्रे नमः. ॐ स्थिराय नमः. ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः. ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः. ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः. ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः. ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः. ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः. ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः. ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः. ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः. ॐ विराजदशलाकृतये नमः. ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः. ॐ पूर्णाय नमः. ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः. ॐ गम्भीराय नमः. ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः. ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः. ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः. ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः. ॐ धीराय नमः. ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः. ॐ स्वराजे नमः. ॐ महर्षये नमः. ॐ भगवते नमः. ॐ ईड्याय नमः.
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः. ॐ विमलाय नमः. ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्छिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ हृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणात् नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः।
रमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीव हित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಗಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।